And welcome back to North of the Broad. We have a very interesting guest with us now. Her name is Laura Councell. She earned her Doctor of Musical Arts degree at UNC Greensboro, and she has a private voice studio, taught music at USC Beaufort, and tutors in the Romance languages. She is now has a very special program at Holy Trinity Classical Christian School that we'll talk about in a minute that has to do with the Romance languages. So for those that, like me, what are considered the Romance languages?
Yeah, the Romance languages are those that are most closely related to Latin. So you have Portuguese and Spanish and French and Italian and others as well. I believe maybe there are a dozen or more that are considered Romance languages.
And they're very similar, aren't they, in a lot of ways?
Yes, there are a lot of similarities.
So let's talk about the program that you've initiated at Holy Trinity.
Yeah, so it's a foreign language immersion program that this year, for the first part of the year, we're doing French, and the second half of the year we'll be doing some Spanish. And so it's an immersion program of song and story, and it's really carefully arranged and carefully chosen books and songs that I've picked to introduce the students to some really rich language material. And so on Monday, I'll introduce a song and a story, and then the rest of the week, they get to listen to that. So they'll hear maybe Itsy Bitsy Spider and Brown Bear in French. And then they have a recording, and so they know that they get this rich, really fun time with me of singing, and that after that there's going to be plenty of repetition. So it's actually very relaxed. So they go very deeply into one song and one book.
And what is the outcome? Is it to learn the language, or just to better understand?
It's mostly to develop a love for the language.
Oh, okay.
Just as in the reasons that we at classical schools that we read the great books. It's to fall in love with the language and to learn the ideas and to enjoy. For me, I want them to enjoy the process of language learning so that when it comes to Latin and maybe things get a bit more rigorous for them, that love is already there. And
why is Holy Trinity a good fit for this initiative that you're going to undertake?
It's a really great fit for this program because, first of all, they're very classical, and so they understand some of the same paradigms that I'm using. They have a really rich foundation for music and theater and the arts, and so I'm finding the students sort of lighting up and enjoying and being willing to sing with me and having a good musical foundation. And of course, they also teach Latin at the school. And so the students light up when we sing L'araignée gypsy, Itsy Bitsy Spider. They say, oh, that's like arachnid, or, those are similar. So surprisingly, there's very little confusion. There's actually a lot of delight in the similarity between the Romance languages.
Is this a program that you're replicating from somewhere else, or is this your own creation?
This came deep from the middle of my heart. So it came out of a little bit of frustration and also out of passion. So the frustration is that high school and college students can study for years and have sometimes very little skill and very little love for language learning was my experience. And in my background as a voice teacher, we learn these masterpieces of music. We learn art song and then eventually opera. And usually we just study the diction and the translation. And then you just dive into the piece and you find yourself singing the words of Debussy and Fauré, and you understand the language sometimes even more deeply than you might understand an English conversation with someone. You're getting so much rich material that it's so incredible for language acquisition. And so I wanted to do that in song. First, primarily for my daughter, who I've been home with, homeschooling after directing opera. And then I wanted to scale that up, and I thought the Holy Trinity students are also a really great fit for this program.
Where your husband has been teaching.
Exactly, yes.
For several years.
Yes, we're both passionate about classical schooling, and so it also comes from that.
Very, very exciting. And has it started yet, or are you about ready to start the program?
It started, yeah. It started in one grade, and then 2 more grades are going to be starting this next coming.
Very interesting. Congratulations.
Thank
Laura
you.
Councell. Very interesting. Thanks for being our guest.
Thank you for having me.
On North of the Broad, and we'll be right back, everyone.